Welcome to episode 2 of Pastors in Perkatory. Apologize for last week. We didn't have an episode because, well,
We were both doing kind of rough,
yeah,
not having a great week either.
yeah,
of us.
it was. We were not feeling well, and probably couldn't have gotten through with that massive hacking and coughing, and would not have been a good episode. So here we're back. We're back this week.
We're back.
So, coffee first, right?
Coffee first, man.
All right.
Let's see how it is.
It's detecting.
No, that's straight chocolate.
No, it's not chocolate.
You don't think so?
I think it's detecting almost a nutty.
The person I'm looking at off camera is Laura, our membership and marketing
She's
specialist.
trying very hard not to give away in her face.
Well, she did kind of nod when you said nutty, so I feel like there's something to this. I'm just picking up sweet.
I'm just thinking nutty and almost buttery, which is really weird.
Well, last week I said caramel, and
I
then
did
it ended
too.
up being, and you said that too, and then it ended up being chocolate. So I feel like I can be overcorrecting here.
The smell's almost like butter popcorn, which is really weird.
I don't think I've never heard of that as a coffee flavor.
I haven't either. But okay, I'm going with my first instinct of the nutty. So there's some sort of nut flavor involved here. We'll see where we are.
I was okay. Oh,
You got the sweet
toffee nut.
So toffee, the Starbucks toffee nut. So we got the sweet and the nut. There we go. So we're both right.
Yeah, well, I don't really feel like I get any credit for because you were leaning towards buttery and toffee's kind of buttery, and I don't think I get any credit for calling chocolate. I just
Well, you
you
said
know what
sweet.
you know what it was is that week one just totally threw me off.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm completely lost. It was a revelation, but in a bad way.
Revelation.
I set
Sounds
you. I
familiar.
did that on
You
purpose.
did. You
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
So the next 3 weeks in our worship series, we are doing images of God, kind of pointing us towards the Advent season. Right after that, so week 1 is Revelation 4, the throne room scene. It's kind of this idea of this.
Love the throne room scene.
Yeah, exactly, right? So this God that can't be described, trying to be described. Week 2 is Exodus 3, which is the burning bush. So that is where God is kind of come to earth and they're visible, but yet still not quite reachable. And week 3, which is Christ the King Sunday, is Jesus on the cross with the thief. Very relatable, very real, very tangible, but then yet still doing a God thing by pardoning the thief. So it's kind of an interesting image of 3 weeks that all point towards this Advent thing coming. So what's this week with Revelation that you set me up for? What's that look like?
Yeah. I mean, we'll call that just good poetic touch, right?
Yeah.
So this week we're looking at Revelation 4, and the whole chapter is just 11 verses. So it's 1 through 11. We'll do the whole thing. And it's Revelation is really unique in this, but it's all throughout the Bible that in the Old Testament as well. That anytime you get one of the biblical authors, part of the canon, trying to describe God, they end up using these. It almost feels overwhelming to read because there's so many details and there's so much repetition.
Right.
I saw this and it was like that and it was like that and it was like this.
A lot of likes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and I was going in to check, and that's not an interpretive thing. It's the Greek word like, the comparative, is actually in the text. So the author is in this case, at least we think, intentionally pointing you towards that they are comparing what they are seeing to something we know. It's not trying to say this is the color, right? It's saying that the color that I saw in my vision was like this. So Revelation's part of this larger genre of literature within the Bible that we call apocalyptic literature, which doesn't explicitly refer to the ending of the world or something. It's about kind of the revealing or the revelation of divine ways and the divine being to humanity. And there's apocalyptic literature in the book of Daniel,
Isaiah.
I had to laugh at the name drop there. Isaiah, there's a throne room scene just like this. The inclusion of the word like reminded me a lot of Ezekiel 1, which is one of the likeness of the appearance of the glory of God. And so it comes down to, I think it's one of these passages in the Bible where if you were to get into the Greek and spend hours with the Greek and read a bunch of books about the history of what's going on, you would still be no closer to the meaning of the passage than you would if you didn't, because there's just so much detail and so much happening,
Right.
that it has this overwhelming quality to it, even to read it now. And
kind of like you're trying to describe a vision of God that you can't, of like God's glory, using language that in no way is capable of doing so.
Yeah, and exactly. It's the inclusion, the repetition of the word, like the use of imagery that is there's so much detail in it, and you're just kind of guessing at what it means, is kind of, I think, pointing in that, the limitations of words, of the human brain to comprehend and human words to describe that which they're seeing.
So I am really curious how, and you're gonna have to come Sunday to find out this. How that ties into the Advent, and I don't want to give it all away yet because there's got to be a reason to come on Sunday.
Well, I mean, I think so. I'll put it this way. I think that without giving too much away, because we do want you to come on Sunday. Without giving too much away, I think we have a temptation in the 21st century church, to sort of treat God as a very manageable category. It's almost like, I think in a lot of ways, I think the way that we've been taught to read Scripture is to sort of, one, break it up into chunks, and two, to assume that each of those chunks have a clear lesson that we are supposed to follow. And
that's fair.
And that's, and that's, it's good to, talk about the moral imperative. That's, I know, kind of your lens, and it's phenomenal that we talk about those things. If that's, I feel, my bias is that if that's all that we talk about, right, we lose kind of this sense that the God of Scripture, one, is coherent throughout. It's the same God in Genesis as in Revelation. And two, is just incredibly compelling and fascinating and intriguing and interesting, and that feeling of being overwhelmed by what you're reading on the page is something that we have come to fear because we can't control it. We can't define it. And instead of fearing it, if we were to allow ourselves to experience something like awe and reverence, and allow that overwhelmed sensation to point us towards not, this is crazy, but God is actually really cool. God is really, that sounds so 90s cheesy, but God is really compelling. God is a reality from which, if we were to really look in that direction, we would be unable to look away, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Which again describes this whole scene in Revelations 4. Yeah. So come Sunday, so we can hear where this goes and how this actually relates to us even more directly in today's world. And another episode of Pastors in Perkatory.
Pastors in Perkatory. Perkatory.
Perk with a K.
Check them on.
So come check us out at Trinity, where the coffee and the hearts are warm.